Hey there, and welcome back to Brainy Book Dragon. Today we're going to be talking about some summer reads, different kinds of books to read over the summer. I've got several cozy fantasy styles, and then a couple of dark academia books. So let's jump in. Now, this first one is called Inkheart. It is geared towards kind of middle grade to high school grade students. It's actually a great story for any age. It is the copy I have is considered a school and library binding. It is a very fun size, I have to say, and it is 560 pages. Now, the blurb on this one says that one cool night, Maggie's father reads aloud from a book called Inkheart, and an evil ruler escapes the boundaries of fiction and lands in their living room. Suddenly, Maggie is smack in the middle of the kind of adventure she has only read about in books. Maggie must learn to harness the magic that has conjured this nightmare, for only she can change the course of the story that has changed her life forever. This is Inkheart, a timeless tale about books, about imagination, about life. Dare to read it aloud. Now, I have to say, the audiobook on this is absolutely amazing. This was written by Cornelia Funke, and it was published on June 1st of 2005. So not a brand new title, but definitely a fun book. This is the first in a trilogy of books. The second book is called Ink Spell, and the third one is called Ink Death. Now, I have to say, this is definitely a trilogy for just about kids of any age. I guess the only content warning I can think of is that, there's obviously a bad guy in the story and he does threaten the main character, but there's nothing that is blatantly inappropriate or anything like that in this story. So definitely a great tale for all ages. Now, next, we're going to go for something a little bit lighter. This is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher, and it was published on July 21st of 2020. So it came out during the pandemic. It didn't get um, a lot of attention for a while, which is kind of surprising. Now, most people know T. Kingfisher for some other types of books that are a little bit more mature in content, like Nettle and Bone. I think there's also another one called What Wakes the Dead. Now, this book itself is actually it's won several different awards. It is the winner of the 2000, it is the winner of the 2021 Lone Star Award for Best Young Adult Book, winner of the Andre Norton Nebula Award for Middle Grade and Young Adult Fiction, winner of the Locus Award for Young Adult Fiction, winner of the Dragon Award Best Young Adult Middle Grade Novel, winner of the Mythopoetic Award for Children's Literature, and winner of the Coyote Award for Best Novel. So definitely loved by many. I'm just so shocked it hasn't gotten more attention overall on by a lot of booktubers and book talkers. But this was such a fantastic story. Definitely for anyone. I literally, as soon as I finished this book, I handed it to my kid and was like, you have to read this. It's such a great story. There are 320 pages, and the blurb says 14-year-old Mona isn't like the wizards charged with defending the city. She can't control lightning or speak to water. Her familiar is a sourdough starter, and her magic only works on bread. She has a comfortable life in her aunt's bakery, making gingerbread man dance. But Mona's life is turned upside down when she finds a dead body on the bakery floor. An assassin is stalking the streets of Mona's city, preying on magic folk, and it appears that Mona is his next target. And in an embattled city suddenly bereft of wizards, the assassin may be the least of Mona's worries. I have to say, this was one wild ride of a story. There are twists and turns along the way, a lot of things that you would not expect, especially for the way that the book is presented. But I have to say, I now everybody I talk to who doesn't know what to read, I totally suggest this. It is such a fun book that I could not put down. I think I read it in 3 days max. It just, such a great story. Absolutely a ton of fun. Now, this next one is more on the dark academia side. This one is called Babel by R.F. Kuang. Now, the full title of this book, most people don't realize it is called Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford Translators' Revolution. It was published on August 23rd of 2022, so it is a more recent publication. I have the hardcover, which is 560 pages. This was such an intricate story. Now, for those who are, concerned about, too much romance or, too much trigger warnings kind of thing, there is violence in this one. However, you really don't have to worry about any romance or sexual tension between characters. There's such a great focus on the plot at hand, and the magic system is very interesting. The study of language that's done here is just incredible. R.F. Kuang definitely did a incredible amount of research when it came to this story. And I have to say, it's also really intriguing. I did get the audiobook as well. Now, there are tons of footnotes in this book. And interestingly enough, on the audiobook, the footnotes are included, and it is a different narrator who reads those footnotes, which is very, very helpful. So you have one primary narrator reading the body of the text, and then another person come in and read the footnotes. So it's nice and easy to keep track of all the information. Now, the blurb on this says, 1828, Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There he trains for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. Babel is the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power, as its knowledge serves the empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, but knowledge obeys power. And as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, Robin realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide, can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? This book, I have to say, the ending was so wonderfully written and unexpected. That was another really great part about this, is that there were so many things that happened in the story that were not what you would usually expect. So R.F. Kuang just did a stellar job on this book. I cannot encourage you to read it enough. I would actually suggest this for anyone, really, I mean, high school grade or higher or upper middle grades. Like I said, there's no real inappropriate stuff. Like, yes, there's violence, but it's so wonderfully written. I totally would recommend this. All right, so let's go to another kind of adventure, but more lighthearted. So again, this is kind of a cozy fantasy book. This is written by Brandon Sanderson, and it's called Tress of the Emerald Sea, a cosmic novel for his secret projects. This was his first secret project to get published. It was published on April 4th, 2023, so brand new publication here. And the blurb on this says, the only life Tress has known on her island home in an emerald green ocean has been a simple one, with the simple pleasures of collecting cups brought by sailors from faraway lands and listening to stories told by her friend Charlie. But when his father takes them on a voyage to find a bride and disaster strikes, Tress must stow away on a ship and seek the sorceress of the deadly midnight sea. Amid the spore oceans where pirates are bound, can Tress leave her simple life behind and make her own place, sailing a sea where a single drop of water can mean instant death? So this was very interesting. The spores that they talk about was really kind of funny, just because of the different kinds of spores. The different colors have different magical properties that we're introduced to throughout the story. The cups are really a nice little touch. It kind of plays off of the whole Princess Bride idea, just because of high adventure and love. And even though the love and romance really doesn't play a major role in this story, it does kind of tie back in towards the end of it. Ironically enough, the end pages on this are some of the most beautiful pages you will see. On the inside of the covers, the artwork is just so beautiful, and I really like the detail that they utilized in those to make it a complete presentation of the story. And it's not often that you see that. There is one colored illustration that comes in the regular hardcover as well, which was very nice. Now, there are also a lot of collector editions out there because of the Kickstarter campaign that was done for this project. So if you can snag your hands on one of those, go for it. There's beautiful gold foil on it. Just such a beautiful copy. All right, so let's go with one more kind of cozy fantasy, high adventure, and then we will end with a dark academia. So this next one was absolutely hilarious. This was so much fun. It's called A Curious Beginning, a Veronica Speedwell mystery. It's written by Deanna Raybourn, and it was published on July 12th, 2016. So again, not a brand new publication, but this was a ton of fun. Now, there are 368 pages of high adventure, snarkiness, and playful banter. I think that's the best way to explain it. But here's what the blurb says. London, 1887. After burying her spinster aunt, orphan Veronica Speedwell is free to resume her world travels in pursuit of scientific inquiry and the occasional romantic dalliance. As familiar with hunting butterflies as with fending off admirers, Veronica intends to embark upon the journey of a lifetime. But fate has other plans when Veronica thwarts her own attempted abduction with the help of an enigmatic German baron who offers her sanctuary in the care of his friend Stoker, a reclusive and bad-tempered natural historian. But before the baron can reveal what he knows of the plot against her, he is found murdered, leaving Veronica and Stoker on the run from an elusive assailant as wary partners in search of the villainous truth. Now, if you love the gumption of the women you find in like Jane Austen books, this was just so much fun. And the language is similar too. Like their speech patterns are very much that kind of time frame, which is a ton of fun. But this has a ton of high adventure, that great classical style of writing and banter that you don't get from a lot of books nowadays. So it is actually a series as well. I should mention that I believe there are 5 books in this series. So yeah, definitely take a look at those. Ton of fun. Now, last but not least in this, we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. It was published April 17th of 2018, and there are 368 pages. You can see most of these are all about the same length, which is actually pretty funny. This one is a dark academia. It is about some friends who are in theater together. And what's interesting about that is it affects the writing style of this story. So as you're reading it, it actually has almost a screenplay style of writing when it comes to how the characters interact and how the dialogue is described. It's very, very interesting that way. So I mean, don't go into this thinking it's going to read like a regular novel. This one is very different, but very cool, and it really fits the tone of the story. Now, the blurb on this one says, on the day Oliver Marks is released from jail, the man who put him there is waiting at the door. Detective Colborne wants to know the truth, and after 10 years, Oliver is finally ready to tell it. A decade ago, Oliver is one of 7 young Shakespearean actors at Delacher Classical Conservatory, a place of keen ambition and fierce competition. In this secluded world of firelight and leather-bound books, Oliver and his friends play the same roles on stage and off: hero, villain, tyrant, temptress, and twin extras. But in their 4th and final year, good-natured rivalries turn ugly, and on opening night, real violence invades the students' world of make-believe. In the morning, the 4th years find themselves facing their very own tragedy and their greatest acting challenge yet: convincing the police, each other, and themselves that they are innocent. If We Were Villains was named one of Bustle's best thriller novels of the year, and Mystery seems as a well-written and gripping ode to the stage, a fascinating, unorthodox take on rivalry, friendship, and truth. Now, ironically enough, it is really dark academia because, like it says, it deals with students working together. And that is kind of the same way that Babel functions. It is students at Oxford. So if you are looking for true, dark academia, fantasy fiction, these are some of the books that you want to get into. And then, of course, mixed in with our cozy fantasy, it's just such a great combination for books. You can definitely kind of bounce around for if you were a mood reader, because again, A Curious Beginning is very playful, very fun. Trust of the Emerald Sea, nice and laid back adventure story. Wizard's Guide to Magic. Oh, just, the characters in that one are so great, and some that I will just never forget. And then Inkheart, the plot and the ideas behind that are just so stunning, and a story that will stick with you forever. So let me know in the comments which ones of these you have read and which ones you have loved the most. I would love to hear from you guys, and I will see you in the next video.